Everyone, welcome back to the channel and another episode of the Umbrella Academy, episode 5. Last time on the Umbrella Academy, uh, yeah, Sir Reginald Hargreaves tried to stab his oldest son. When perhaps this is where Diego gets it from. He fought Diego, stabbed him, then suspected someone was snooping in on his super secret meeting, and he just stabbed in the closet. What if it was Grace? For all he knew, it could have been Grace. Use your words, Reginald. Use your words. Nonetheless, both Five and Diego managed to find Dr. Hargreaves and well, didn't get the meeting they actually wanted. They were interrupted by the Swedes, although I'm not sure things would have gone any differently if the Swedes hadn't shown up. Reginald may not have left as early, but he doesn't seem to be in the mood to talk. Five did say something to him at the very end. They're not sure what it actually means, but it could have been something that Reginald told them or told Five or the kids all together that in the event that we need to identify ourselves, use this phrase or something. Maybe Reginald himself would be familiar with, right? Some super secret code or something. I don't know, maybe. But with the opening of the last episode, it did confirm that Lila's parents were in fact killed, and I was right in that the commission was responsible for her parents' death. Whether or not she's actually aware of that, because the handler took her almost immediately after the killing, so she may not remember the details from when she was a kid to note that this was a bit too coincidental for her to be there immediately as my parents died. So the handler raised her. I'm not sure whether she is actually a part of the actual commission, or she's just a trainee for the handler in the event that something went wrong and she needed a rogue agent or something that sits outside of the commission itself. Because Lila is under the impression that the Swedes were sent by AJ and the commission, but they clearly are not, and they were sent there by AJ and the new handler. But for whatever reason, she wants Lila to believe that she's the one who actually sent them, and they're just doing their job to make everything appear legitimate. But she told Lila to protect Five. I'm still not sure why. I have my theories that this ties back to my long-winded theory from season 1 that that Five is in fact the one who created the commission itself. And outside of that, I have nothing to support this argument. Of course, the fact that she wants to keep Five alive, despite the fact that everything that Lila listed, that he's the most dangerous one and he's responsible for her being demoted, but she seems to have a peculiar interest in Five, and I can't help but think that may be because some version of Five is responsible for creating the commission itself. That's my theory. I don't have a whole lot to back that up, but things are pointing in that direction as far as I can see. If she manages to save this version of Five, maybe she thinks this will put her in good standing with the other Five, perhaps, enough to get her job back or maybe replace AJ. As I said, I don't have a whole lot to support this argument. This is just my theory so far. And speaking of theories, I am wondering, after seeing, I went back to watch the episode where they came across Pogo and Dr. Hargreaves, and since this is the 60s, I'm wondering whether that is where Pogo originated, meaning perhaps Dr. Hargreaves rescued him from one of those space missions that they usually carry out using chimps, and maybe he rescued him from one of those missions or in the vacuum of space or something, and using his alien technology or something made him a bit more intelligent. I guess, or perhaps, maybe, I'm not sure. But the highlight of the last episode was definitely Vanya. For me personally, it was definitely Vanya learning to control her abilities to some extent, saving the wife's son from drowning. I'm still a bit unclear as to how she was able to do that. Some have mentioned that in the last season, in episode 10, she was able to use her ability to drain the life out of the other siblings. And perhaps that means she can actually do the reverse. But it doesn't seem to tie in too much with what her abilities originate from, which is sound. I'm not making the connection between sound and restoring someone's life, but who knows? Hopefully, we'll get some explanation for exactly how that works. Um, and then there was Klaus. I don't know. Klaus's situation and Allison's situation as well. They're both in a peculiar one where, I mean, the timeline that they're in, they're making these drastic decisions and changes that they ought to know better. And maybe Five should have warned them. You know, you go back in the past. You need to fit in. You know, Klaus, I understand why he was trying to save Dave from going to war, but it defeats the purpose. If he doesn't go to war, he not only does he not meet you, but he will be stuck at home with his. I think maybe I made an error last episode. After rewatching the episode, I don't think it's his dad. I think that was his uncle. But nonetheless, he appears to live with or spend a whole lot of time with him. And if he doesn't go to war, he's gonna be in that environment, and he may turn out to be a completely different person if he doesn't go to war. So, even though he dies, you're changing a whole lot and confusing an already confused kid by telling him you love him in front of his homophobic uncle. I mean, come on, Klaus, come on. Uh, so it's not an ideal situation for Klaus, and Allison the same. I mean, Ray, I do understand Ray's situation where he's coming from, her having this family, uh, this white family, predominantly white family, coming out of the secretive. And even if she does tell him that, she used her ability to have the cop leave to save his life, there's still a question of, did you use your abilities on me? Is that why I fell in love with you? And then, it's there's no win for her there. None that I can see. The best I think she can hope for is perhaps use her abilities to try to help the movement somewhat, but I don't foresee her and Ray being together here. It's they're from two different worlds, literally, in a sense. So I don't know. Tough situation. All right, episode 5, guys. Let's check it out. Oh,
It's okay.
Prime Minister of Congo. So this is Pogo's origin story then. Embrace. They did a fantastic job with this with the CGI for Pogo. Uh-oh. Aw, damn it. Well, he survived somehow. I'm guessing Dr. Hargreaves. Similar to what he did to Luther, perhaps. It's funny because, it turned Luther into an ape. And here it actually made Pogo a bit more intelligent. Ah, that's what 5 said to him. We knew Reggie had such a soft spot, though.
You ask
Yeah, you're too good.
Too much, and you fight like you know what you're doing.
He's got a point.
So I know how.
Thank you, Dave. I thought maybe he
If I
would.
see you again, I will kill you.
Damn. He's not bluffing this time. It wasn't the last time either, but he's not bluffing. Yeah, you saved him, and then you left him a second time after 5 was free.
You know what? I'm used to dealing with liars, Lila. But I like it better when I know what they're lying about.
I'm so happy about this because I'm just so glad they didn't go down the road where, okay, he's against Five for being suspicious, because it's kind of obvious.
What is it? Do we need to talk? About, do you want to?
I mean, you're married, you have a kid. We should probably talk. There's some things you need to talk about.
Carl's back early.
I'm happy for Vanya. I want her to have a happy ending, but
Even if it was my fault, which it isn't.
which it isn't.
We only have 6 days before the end of the world, and the closest anyone's gotten to Dad was that driveway at the consulate.
Yeah, Luther doesn't know about that, does he?
I saw him.
I want to see his encounter with his dad. For leaving him stranded on the moon, for lying to him, all of that. He might punch him.
This is gonna sound crazy.
Oh, he did find him. So what the hell happened?
I'm your son.
Just out with it like that. I mean,
No, you're not. I know everything about
do you though? I don't think he told you guys much.
Listen, the problem. I have a deep dislike of children. I do not have them, nor do I intend to have them, but if for some reason I did, I would expect more from them than a scruffy face, poor hygiene, and your grotesque simian proportions.
I was expecting him to, well, be angrier at his dad, I guess.
He didn't shank my ass. No, bro. He shanked your heart.
Hey, Diego in the 60s is a lot kinder than he was last season, right? He was an asshole last
Time to
season.
get the Umbrella Academy back.
Hey, Vanya, why don't you go ahead and take some time off?
Carl, stop. Not even on.
Don't tell me she's don't. She's reacting to it, but it's his wife.
We're alone? No, maybe not.
What in the hell was that?
Does he know?
Get your shoes on. Come on.
Got her to calm down.
Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Just
Yeah,
spending the day
I
with
don't
you.
know. This is confusing as hell. Because I mean, she begged her to stay, but then she's saying to her now, yeah, I need to. You need to stay out of this. I need to spend time with my family. I mean, and then they're giving Carl the cold shoulder. She's creating a very bad situation with the family.
Last time I saw this was suspended midair, sucking the life out of me with energy tentacles. I think I'm allowed a little time.
I don't remember what I did, but I'm sorry. If that means anything.
Brilliant.
Oh, wow. I know this is impossible, but did we all get sexy?
Time travel will do that to you.
I missed you. I got someone did.
Come on, hug. God damn it, hug. Come on.
Let's get down to business.
Why is he hiding that from them, though?
Hey, Diego. Can't say hi to nobody?
Hi, Allison.
What was that?
Hi, Allison.
I mean, that's not traditionally how they get it, though. But I guess these three are idiots. They might not question it. Alright, so she's gonna try to manipulate the Swedes if she wants to take out Diego. They had their chance to kill Diego, so why wait until now? I don't know what her plan is.
I think we all know what we have to do.
Why are you in such a hurry to kill Dad?
Kill
Find Dad.
Has anyone here done anything to screw up the timeline?
You guys have done plenty.
Allison has been very involved in local politics.
Okay, you started a cult.
It's like the siblings blaming each other for everything. Vanna is the only one.
I don't know if there's there's a
I mean,
reason for it.
maybe it's Carl. Who knows?
But Dad will. We need to talk to him before everyone and everything we know is dead.
Okay, I'm out.
No one leaves until we figure this out.
Why'd he portal outside?
Son of a bitch.
Don't follow her. Don't take the bait.
What if we're just a bunch of freaks who have no business
It's good to see
changing the
these two
world?
talking for
Everyone
once
changing
without
the
throwing
world,
fists.
Luther. Everyone. And it's
Yeah, no matter how small. Okay. Is this the handler? Or is it Reginald?
Reginald Hargreaves. Request the pleasure of your company for a light supper on the 20th of November 1963, 7:30. 1620.
Is that from him or is that from the handler?
Wouldn't it be weird if Five grew up all hot? Wouldn't that be weird?
Ew.
Oh, please, Miss. Luther was my lover.
Aren't we all brothers and sisters?
Well, technically,
Technically,
They're adopted.
Afterwards, use the word technically. You're already.
There's a point.
okay. Again, we are not biological.
Face it, the healthiest long-term relationship in this family was when Five was banging that mannequin.
Good point. Twisted. It needs to unwind a bit. I'm glad. But it's good to see Vanya having some fun with the siblings, being a part of the siblings. You know? Didn't get any of that last season, so I'm happy to see that at least momentarily. Oh, damn. I guess to motivate them to go after Diego, who killed one of their brothers. But they already had, I guess they weren't on to Diego yet, but they were already targeting at least two of the siblings before. So they went after Allison and Vanya. So they would have eventually gotten to Diego. So why does she need him? Huh. Come on, Five, you must know this is a trap. And he still has the body of a kid, but he did decimate those guys in the cafe back in season 1, so he's still capable. How is she doing that? The handler is gonna
Come out
grab
now.
him. Ah, that's how. She's been stopping time. What's her interest in Five? I know my theory about Five being the head of the commission, but why is she giving her that look? I mean, he's your husband.
Don't you dawdle now.
I mean, what does she think would happen? Come on, Vanya, be realistic here.
You slept with him?
Why wouldn't she? He's her husband. I feel like Vanya and Klaus are just going about this all wrong.
What your real life was like, you'll feel less inclined to tell people how to live theirs.
And Sissy's just as bad because she kept telling her to stay. They're both frustrating. Now the Swedes are on the warpath. They're out for Diego.
Sit your ass down. Sit down. Now, I've been doing a lot of thinking and...
Oh, God. No. God, no.
I'm gonna tell you...
This is not going to work out well. All right, there we have it, episode 5 of the Umbrella Academy, and this is one of the more slower paced episodes. It's not so actiony, more so than the characters coming to terms with their lives here in the actual 60s, and I gotta say they're making a shit of the situations that they've found themselves in. But before I even get into that though. How is the handler stopping time? I know she did it back in season 1. Yeah, she did it back in season 1 when she came to make a proposal to 5, and when Hazel and Chatter were actually fighting. So she is capable of manipulating time without using the suit, the briefcase. But she's not the handler anymore. I figured it was something that maybe a smaller device that persons higher up actually have possession of, right? And those who are in the field have to use the briefcase. But she's not a handler anymore, so how is she still even able to do that? I guess she could steal it or something, but nonetheless, I'll get back to that. So it's so frustrating. Vanya and Sissy's situation, they're both frustrating here because in my mind, Vanya, I want her to be happy. I'm glad that she found someone to be happy with. Sissy's just as confusing because Vanya came there to tell her, I'm leaving. I need to leave to go and help. She didn't tell her the part about going to help her siblings, but she said, I need to leave. She convinced her to stay and then further enticed her by saying, we could run away together. I've got some money saved up. And then when she did stay, the next day she's acting awkward and telling her to stay out of it, and it's frustrating. It's not that she isn't correct. I know she's correct because she is married. Vanya came there and saw that she was married, so she's kind of imposing herself on a family that was already there, whether they were happy or not. And that's not the right thing for her to do. If Sissy's not happy with her husband and she needs to do something, leave him, whatever the case might be. But you shouldn't be the one to actually impose yourself in that situation. But at the same time, Sissy's making the situation far worse by encouraging her and then flipping, and so it's all very confusing. I understand Sissy's the position that she's in. She has a husband, she has a child, she kind of up and leave. But she should have said all of that before telling Vanya to stay and before sleeping with her. Why would you do it? It's obvious they have feelings for each other, but if the situation were reversed and Vanya was a guy, would you be going down the same road that you have now? She probably wouldn't. So she's put Vanya in a difficult position, but Vanya has also put her in a difficult position. And I just wish Vanya and Klaus, by extension, because they're both in a similar situation. Klaus confronting Dave with his love, just blurting it out, no context whatsoever. I love you. You're in the 60s. The guy hasn't come out to his family. He probably hasn't even completely figured that out himself. And you're just going to do that in front of his uncle, his homophobic uncle. Just not the right approach. So both Vanya and Klaus have just handled the situation quite terribly. But I am happy to know that in this episode we got to see Vanya, with Klaus, with Allison. Awkward meeting with Diego, but I didn't expect that to go any other way. That's Diego being Diego, and at the end of the day, he did say the apology meant something to him. She already had her moment with Luther, so I was quite happy to see her with Allison again. Despite her not having her memories here, which kind of removes some of the conflicts, from one side. Yeah. So, but I was still happy to see them together. I was happy to see her spend time with them, be a part of the family, something she never got growing up, something she never got in season one. So it was a great moment to see her with Klaus and Allison relaxing and just enjoying themselves, unwinding before they did all the dumb shit afterwards. Allison confronting Ray and saying she's gonna tell him the truth. I don't see that going how she expects it to, for a guy in the 60s, I mean, he's gonna be skeptical. What makes more sense? Her being a spy or her being a woman from the future with superpowers, being able to compel anyone to do her bidding? What makes the most sense here? It makes more sense that she's a spy. So I don't get why, on what basis she thinks this is a good idea. Now, who knows? Perhaps I'm wrong, and Ray will have an open mind. He studied Shakespeare and philosophies, and who knows? Maybe he can suspend disbelief and broaden his imagination to the extent where he can believe what she's actually saying to him. I very much doubt it, but let's see what happens there. I don't see it going well. I think, and as I said before, even if he does believe her, what would stop him from thinking, did she manipulate me all this time into falling in love with her and all these things? So I don't see it going well. Don't see things going very well for her at all. But another heartfelt moment for me this episode was definitely Luther and Diego. In every scene that they've had, for the most part, for all of season one, they've always been butting heads. There's always been conflict. Their dad, of course, being the source of that conflict, because I imagine number two is always trying to become number one, and he's never been able to get that recognition in his father's eyes. So with their dad far removed from the equation, over time that has changed, and they're realizing that they have a lot more in common than they thought they did before, because they really are trying to do the same thing, be the hero that their dad said that they were. Diego's obsession with saving Kennedy, and Luther's, it's twofold for Luther, because he's still very much always trying to do the right thing, but he's learned from season one, unlike Diego, I suppose, to not be the hero so much, but at the same time he's giving up hope entirely, which I don't think you have to sacrifice one for the other, right? As Diego pointed out to him, everyone changes the world. It's just that some do it on a much larger scale than others do, but we all leave a footprint, so in some way, shape, or form. So it was good to see them have that discussion without throwing fists, without fighting. So. And I sincerely hope that letter is in fact from Reginald, but I don't think it is. I mean, how would he know where to find them, to actually deliver that message? I mean, the chauffeur looks like someone who would be in Reginald's employ. He was definitely dressed for the occasion, but I don't know how Reginald would have found them to actually deliver that. So I can't help but wonder whether this is a part of the handler's plan. And going back to the handler, I mean, what is her plan? I have no idea. I thought she was going to perhaps try to pit the brothers against each other when she took Diego's knife, but I guess she wanted to redirect the Swedes, which I still don't understand why, because the Swedes were never targeting Five to begin with, and that seems to be who she's trying to protect. She sent him to kill Diego, who Lila doesn't want to kill. So I'm guessing when Lila dropped the message down the chute, she didn't know what was actually in it. Because they did have the opportunity to leave Diego to die. Dr. Hargreaves stabbed him and he would have bled out and died if Lila didn't find him. So what is her plan? What is her plan? And the Swedes are motivated now, I suppose. We saw them with a photo in their hand, which wasn't from this particular timeline. So they seem to have recruited them from, perhaps over a century or so before the 60s. Possibly. But who knows? But They're definitely out for blood now. Out for Diego specifically. But there's no way Diego isn't gonna be alone. I mean, they were already targeting Vanya and they were already targeting Allison. So I still don't get what the handler's plan is. What's her plan now that she's got Diego there? It could be that she was forcing him to teleport enough times so that he can teleport, because we've seen where there are some limitations to how often he can teleport. I do wish the series would give us something definitive, in terms of what is the extent of his abilities as far as teleporting. Because we've seen him do it multiple times, but then there are other occasions where he does it and then he can't do it anymore. When he jumped into the future, I can understand that because that was time travel, and that's a bit tricky for him to control. And I imagine it uses a lot for him to actually do that. So I can understand him being stuck in the future, making that huge a leap. But then we see him fighting at the party last episode, and he simply moved from the closet to the hallway, and then he was stuck and could move again. So I don't get what the limitations of Five's abilities are. Perhaps the handler is aware of it, which would maybe lend some credibility to my theory that Five is in fact the one who created the commission. Maybe she knows more about how his abilities work than he does right now. And she is forcing him to teleport several times so that she can trap him inside the building there. As to what she wants to use him for now, assuming my theory is correct, perhaps she can use younger Five as a hostage to manipulate the other version of Five, that's the head of the commission. Again, assuming I'm right, nothing to support it yet. But there's definitely a focus on Five, and it must be for a reason. It must be something. There has to be something. And I was a bit surprised that Luther actually met his dad before anyone else. Not so much that he even met his dad, but the reaction that he got from meeting his dad. I was expecting him to be angry. I mean, this isn't the Hargreaves that sent him to the moon for over a year, I believe, and with no purpose, and turn him into a giant ape. But it's the Hargreaves that will do it. So I expected anger to be his first response, but then before he got to Dr. Hargreaves, he was living on the street for a while begging and stuff. So he was probably just happy to see someone familiar, and he threw him out. So I can understand his apprehension to wanting to save the world and go back to Dr. Hargreaves again, but I mean, there's no outrunning the apocalypse, so what then? And it may not have been for naught, because I mean, after Luther visited Hargreaves, and then Five spoke to him in last episode, he may now be putting things together. If it had just been Five alone, he likely would have just disregarded it. But the fact that he had one person come to him before and say, "I'm from the future," and then he now has another who shouldn't know the lines from that story, at least know what it means to him. Maybe that lends more credibility to the stories that he's now been hearing from Luther and now Five. So, I think Luther needs to get back on board. I mean, he's still with Diego I think they're both going to go to that invitation that they got from him. So, yeah, hopefully that means that he's back on board with the plan. Maybe not Diego's plan to kill Reginald, but to speak to him first. It's I don't know, it's been a wild ride of an episode. I will say for the opening sequence with Pogo, and I called it, well, not entirely, because I thought maybe Dr. Harvey is on his way to Earth, because I'm still holding on to that theory that he's an alien somehow. My theory was that on his way to Earth, he maybe encountered Pogo stranded or something to that effect. But But no, he recruited. He was a part of the team that that raised him, recruited him for the mission, and the mission went awry. He crashed, and he had to save his life, much like he had to do with Luther, only flipped in that in this instance it actually made I'm assuming it actually made Pogo intelligent, whereas with Luther it just made him stronger, although Luther's strength has been wavering all over the place. I suppose it's a possibility that maybe his strength is actually linked to his emotions, possibly. That could explain why we've seen him strong in some instances and in others not so much. Like in his fight against Hazel, right? Or even the brawling, the matches that he's been fighting this season. There's no way those guys should be able to take his punches, but it's interesting to see a similar scenario here with Pogo, where Hargreaves saves Pogo's life and actually displays some human emotion, because up until this point, I think everyone kind of agrees Reginald is an asshole. And he said as much to Luther, is that I have a dislike for children, and he would never adopt any, and he did adopt them later on. But he may have become a bit more hardened and a bit more cold, perhaps after Grace dies. We still don't know how she died. He modeled their mother after her, but did she die naturally, or did something happen to cause her death? So we don't know what happened to Grace, but we do know he must have had some connection with her. That's the only explanation I can see as to why he would model their mother after her. And he definitely has to care for Pogo. Maybe not. Did he save Pogo's life because he cared about Pogo, or did he save Pogo's life because he cared about Grace, who cared about Pogo? So there's that question. But one of the cases might be, I think it's clear at this point that they do need to find Reginald. They need to have a conversation with him, and hopefully the invitation that they received is actually a genuine one. Now, something I didn't forget to mention at the very beginning of this episode as well was the opening scene from the last episode where someone from the commission killed Lila's parents, and I'm wondering now whether the agent who killed her parents was actually number 5. We didn't see his face, and at the time it struck me as odd that they would actually hide the agent's face if it's just some throwaway agent that we would never see or visit again. But now I'm wondering whether or not maybe that was after she recruited 5 when he was stuck in the future, and maybe this was one of his earlier missions after she recruited him. That's a possibility. In which case, it would make it very difficult for her to join the good guys, if she finds out that 5 was the one who killed her parents or something. But I've got to give 5's credit though, for his suspicion, and Diego for backing up that suspicion. I feel like in a lesser series, it might have created conflict between the two siblings, in that Diego might have come to her defense because he loves her, and disregarding all the signs that he's seen so far, and be like, 5, back off, I love her and all of that. I'm glad the show didn't go in that direction. But both brothers are assholes, but they trust the other's instinct and what they're capable of, so I'm glad to see that 5 was no fool, except for the part where he followed her, but he saw right through it. He questioned everything, and then Diego backed him up and raised all these questions like, yeah, he's right, you've been doing some very shady stuff, and I'm just glad it didn't go the route of pitting 5 against Diego. I've enjoyed their relationship so far this season, so I'm glad that remains intact. I'm a very enjoyable episode as well. Be sure to post down below, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are on this episode. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys for the next one.